Saturday, August 10th, the Trigon travels to its home in South Florida and lands once again inside the Charles F. Dodge Center for BYB 29. Brawl in the Pines 3. BYB Light Heavyweight Champion Cub the Savage Hawkins looks to defend his title against the Legacy of God, Gregory Cisneros. Super middleweight title contenders Robert Cerna and Ryan Jet collide, plus Miami's own Robert Durant Jr. and Yuli Diaz look to bring their hometown crowd to its feet. Catch these great fights and much more. Visit BYBExtreme.com for tickets and information.
Welcome to the Original Fighter's Voice. I'm your host, Don Mcguire. You can see in front of me the one and only Robert Hernandez Jr. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. How are you doing today, Don?
The heat is killing me, bro. And you saw my fiasco earlier. You know, I'm one of the few people that do interviews that don't mind having people that don't speak English, you know, because you can always find a translator. But I got to admit, you know, a Spanish-speaking person from Venezuela doesn't correlate with somebody that understands Spanish from Mexico. And the only other time I really had a problem with that was when I had a guy on from Japan and I had to have a Japanese translator. That was the worst day ever. So today was a piece of cake. But I wanted you on the show because you're a giver. You love to give back to the sport. You've been an avid fan of the sport since you were 10 years old, you know, and you've dedicated your life to not only making yourself better, but creating a better path for others. What is it about Robert Hernandez that had you give so much of your life to see others succeed?
Well, me, like when I was growing up in California as a kid, you know, so in that city, it's like when you're growing up, you know, you go through a lot of things through adversity as kids, you know, and it's tough. Like when you see nobody gives anything to you, you know, as a kid growing up over there, and it was hard growing up in California and Salinas. But like I said to myself one day, you know, when I get older, I'm gonna help kids, you know, because sometimes we didn't have that kind of help, you know, that people that came around to like push us, help us out, you know. And I figured, you know what, when I get there, I'm gonna show what I didn't get, you know. So I figured I'm gonna help as much as I can, and for many others could succeed in the sport.
Yeah. You know, I don't know how deep you want to go about this, but early in your life, there was a tragedy and it forever changed you. Is that part of your life? Is that what truly made you want to give back, mentor, create? How did that part of your life change and evolve you moving forward?
Well, it was it was very tough because when that happened, I was about 7 years old when my little brother died in the house fire, and it was really tough for the whole entire family and for me, you know. And as for me, like seeing my little brother that was in there, he came out of the doorway in the front door. I remember that because sometimes you get so blocked when you go through a lot of tragedy. And I see him coming outside. My other brother, he had fire in his back, and that's something that never left my mind when he came out of there. He could have burned too, and he got in the grass. And then what I seen is it stick to me, so it made me grow up so quick because like my parents, you know, it was tough for them to bounce back for that. So our childhood was not, how can I say, it wasn't that where we had a childhood because my parents were like messed up having that incident that happened to us. So I had to grow up pretty fast and take care of my younger brother, and my sister had to take care of us. So we took care of each other, and then it was hard growing up. And as for me to see that tragedy kind of changed us too, because we realized, you know, it's tough when you go through stuff, and other kids out there, you know, they don't have that sometimes you got to go through tragedy to become who you're going to become. And it kind of hit me in the heart, you know. I said to myself, you know, I'm going to help these kids because when I was growing up in our family, you know, we really didn't have that person, you know, to like, hey, I help you out to do this, you could do that, you know, succeed and stuff. It was hard because it was hard when it happened. You know, it messes a family up when you lose a loved one in there, especially when he was 3 years old. And I said to us, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can to give back to any community or any kids that want to succeed in life because they don't have that, you know. And I figured, you know, this is I'm going to use this for my little brother that died in that fire, and said to myself, every time I succeeded on something, helping somebody else, I always look up to the heavens and look at my little brother and like, you know what? This is for you, little brother.
Yeah, it's very touching, bro. And you know, a lot of people can say, "Oh, well, I understand," but they don't understand, you know. And it's not nobody's fault, you know, because when you lose somebody, it hurts. And like when I lost my grandfather, you know, he wasn't my blood, but he made me the man I am today. And I still sit back and I ponder if we didn't lose him, you know, where would things be? And but he molded me in the man I am today. And I take from your story because we're friends. I'm gonna let everybody know we're friends first and foremost. And you know, we take from things that knock us down and we move forward because we realize the world doesn't stop for us. We will, you know, we can sit here and cry about things. We can sit here and let things tear us down, but that's not the Robert Hernandez Jr. that I know. What was it in the mentorship, the parents, the family that had you guys or allowed you guys to just become a more solid unit and move forward? Because it created, even though it was a travesty, it created a great man that's sitting in front of me.
Yeah, like my father was a really good mentor. He was a great father, and my mom was great, awesome too. And the thing was like it was hard for them when that happened. You know, we went years, you know, without them being close to us because it is hard when you lose a child and to lose a brother. But they did their best with us. They kept us away from everything. It kind of like brought us more together, like towards the future end of it. When we started growing up in our teenager and stuff, my father will talk to me. It's like, you know what, you're gonna do good, okay? You're gonna do great things. You know, don't worry about it. What happened happens. You know, it's not your fault. You know, everything that went wrong in our lives. He's like, you know what, you do the best you can and give back if you can. Just because bad things happen to good people, you know, doesn't mean you be bad to other people, you know. He'll tell
Yeah.
me that all the time. And my mom will say the same thing. It's like, you know what? It doesn't matter if we don't have our, you know, your little brother no more, but you know what? We have to move on and do the best we can because we still have each other, you know. We gotta be strong and we can't let go because if we let go, we don't know what could happen at this day, what I would have become.
Yeah. You know, it's hard. You know, I know I didn't have my mother my whole life and she died in my arms.
Mhm.
So it's a struggle, but you stood up, you know, and you forged forward. What was it about the sweet science that truly encaptured the thought, the heart, you know, and the motivation to do what you do? Because you're a matchmaker, you're an agent, you're a trainer. I mean, you're a man of many hats. And I've interviewed some of your fighters on my show. And, you know, that's how we came across each other through, you know, Robert Garcia Promotions and other people in this industry.
Mhm.
But you're a man that's truly dedicated. And what was it in the mind and on the walk that had you just give all that you can? I mean, because this world is so flipped upside down right now
Uh-huh.
that family stabbing family in the back, friends are screwing each other over. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you on the show because no matter what, you remain the same. What is it on your walk that had you become the man that you are? Who, I guess the best way to say it is, besides your parents, who is the true mentor that built the man in front of me?
Hmm. A lot of my good friends like Carlette Yui, Carlette, David Estrada, Jose Castaneda. That was my best friend, and my wife that kept pushing me. You know what? You could do this. Don't give up. And to be quite honest, my dad was a very good mentor to me. That he kept me out of trouble, kept me forward, and he told me I'm going to do great things. He kept telling me that. And because I lost both my parents young, so it's like it's sad you have to go through a lot of tragedy, Don, when you lose three of your family members. It's it destroys you, but you keep pushing forward. But I remember the words of my father used to say, you know what? A great man becomes not for all the deeds he does, it's what he keeps doing.
Yeah.
That's what he used to tell me all the time. So he's a great mentor to me. Like I said, like the rest, like Estrada, Carlette, my best friend Joe Castañeda, my wife. And I met like good, great people like Max Garcia, trainer out over there from Salinas, California. Very good guy. He was good friends with my father. And to be quite honest, everybody that gave me a good a good talk about my situation, not to give up, they're actually mentors too. Because if you think like there's only one or two mentors, but in reality, there's more. Because you get from everybody what they say to you, and you take the great from them, so they could become mentors too for you. Because sometimes we think it's just one or two guys, but in reality, it's a lot of them that come. Because like I said, like they're used in a certain way and that they help you and they tell you certain things because sometimes you want to give up, but you don't give up. Why? Because you remember each one of them kind people said to you and you keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Now you brought up a name a second ago, people like with David Estrada, and it came from YouTube, so you're not going to see it on Facebook. But Carlette jumped on here and says, "Hello, Robert," and she also said, "Hello, Don." What would you like to say to Carlette, bro?
Oh, Carla she's amazing. I'll tell you a story. It's funny because sometimes when I used to get so stressed out, because this business, Don, it's tough, it's stressful. You know what I mean?
Bro,
So
I've been here for 40 years.
I know, right? You know what I mean? So I'll like call her up so mad sometimes, like oh, you that word you'll never hear in your life. Sometimes you have to open up a dictionary to see what kind of word I'm coming up with. And she's like, Robert, just calm down. And it was so funny because I'll be calling her different names, never by the right name, like Carla has named it, but she'll tell me, no, I used to call me this name, that name, this name. I like, why'd you correct me? It's like, no, I just didn't want to tell you. It was too funny. It was just too funny. I just kept going, and then she'll just laugh and laugh and laugh.
Yeah,
But she is.
I'm gonna go ahead. Go
She's
ahead, brother.
actually gonna be my promoter because I'm gonna be working for. I'm her main matchmaker, and we are trying to do something by this December or next early next season. So I'll be the main matchmaker in her fights.
That's so good, man. They couldn't have picked a better guy for the job. And Carlette says, laughing out loud. But another friend of yours jumped in from YouTube. Alfredo Medina says, "Hello, my brother Robert.
Hey, Medina.
How does it make you feel? Because you left Texas on a kind of a somber note. You go to California, and then you're in the hotbed
Hmm.
and of the sport, all genres. What make what made you pick up and move to Denver, Colorado, bro?
Good question. It's you see the thing about me, I have a vision, for the sport. I love the sport to death, and I do. I tell people tell me like, no, it's a dying sport, this, that, and all this other stuff. I'm like, no, you're looking at it in the wrong way. You got to look at it for what it's done for you. It's not that what's happening on TV and stuff like. No, it's the behind the scenes. It's the beautiful part of it. To see what's going on, the negotiations, the people you meet, the great people. Yes, you're gonna get your bad ones. They're not. Who doesn't, right? But it's like everything, it's the whole entire thing. You got to put it together. It's the love of the sport. If you don't have it, you're not going to go so far. It's like I tell these people, you got to love the sport. Everything else comes with it.
Yeah. Uh, Carla said, "Thank you so much." I'm going to get through these comments real quick because I don't want to disrespect anybody because there's
Gotcha.
already quite a few of them. Um, a good friend of mine from the East Coast up by Connecticut has a tremendous show in his own right. Chatting with Stacks. Bill Stacks says hello. And then another brother of mine from Drayton, Canada, one of my best friends, says good evening. Another one from Canada, Mr. Kalen Mitchell, says hello. And then Nate Wren, thank you so much for helping me on the interview this afternoon with I can't even think of his name now. Hey, my mind goes 100 miles an hour. I'll get it in a second. But you know, it's so hard. Like we were talking about earlier, when you Nate can speak Spanish. He works for Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. and Jr. and all kinds of people in the industry. And then when I get a guy from Venezuela on, and the dialects are so different. You know, Nate was kind of thrown off, and then trying to run through the rolling brownouts of Chicago with a kid from Venezuela. It was just a horrific afternoon. That's why I was like, thank you, Nate. But you know, I appreciate everything you did because I knew we were going to have a good show tonight, and I've been wanting to have you on. It's just, you know, I went through surgery, so you know we kind of have to take things backwards. But Larry Holmes is, they call him Little Holmes. His name is Paul Driscoll. He says, hello, Don and Robert. Good evening. It's one of Larry Holmes' best friends. So, and then, oh, and then Nate reminds me, Grigori Cisneros. He said, I felt like Billy Chappelle trying to pitch the perfect game. It was one of them moments, man. But you know what?
Yeah.
The show, you watched part of it. It came out. We got the intent out of it.
Yeah.
But what I want to pick your heart and your head for a minute, bro, because I walked away from being an executive engineer for the Hilton to be a photographer. And you walked away from different aspects in your life to do this. What was the main purpose? What was the intent that you felt in your heart and in your head to give back to these young kids? Because I know you truly love the youth of the sport, the intermediate, and the champions, but you truly have a profound love for these kids, man. I mean, you're trying to do everything that you possibly can for them. You want to see them succeed, you know, and you brought up it's better to be in the dark sometimes to let others shine.
Yeah.
Why is it that you put others in front of you, bro? Why do you feel that this has to be the path that Robert Hernandez Jr. walks?
So 10 years ago, Don, I was out in Minnesota, and I just said to myself, I'm gonna make things happen. I'll make great things happen because I believe in myself and I believe what I could accomplish and what I could help out there. And I know there's a lot of kids out there that thought someday they had somebody, you know, and they didn't have nobody. And like for me, I pretty much didn't have much either myself because like I said, my parents have died and I didn't really had that many friends around. But like for me, I didn't have nobody, and I know how that feels. Sometimes I say you have to go through adversity and all that yourself in order to see, to understand what they're going through. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna make great things. It doesn't matter how long it takes me to get there, but I'm gonna get there. And when I get there, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna change who I am. I'm gonna keep going to help these kids because I know at one point I have nothing. I had nobody. I had nobody to believe what I have done. And it's funny because before I started in this Don in this industry, I'll said to myself, okay, I'm gonna make a couple phone calls, right? And just to get in there, you know. So I'll call people like, hey, I have a boxer, you know, that wants to spar, you know, do that to certain places. I'm not gonna say names of gyms, you know, but this
Yeah.
was 10 years ago. So they go like, who are you? Why are you calling? Who are you anyways? Don't call here. And like they'll just hang up. And that's always I'll tell my wife, you know what? I'm starting to grow a potato nose. Like, what do you mean a potato nose? Because every door gets slammed on my nose. You know, the kids is getting
Yeah.
bigger and bigger because they're not giving me the opportunity. And for me to go through all of that, and it's funny because now it is totally different. Because now I thank God for everything what He has given me because He put it there in front of me, and I did the work. You know, He puts it for me there, and I do the work. So I thank Him for everything He has done for me. Because in reality, because without my Father, my Savior, I wouldn't got to this point where I'm at now. And it's funny
Mm.
because like now that I could call people up, I call gyms up, they already know who I am. And that's so funny because back in 10 years, they didn't know who I was. And I call them like, hey, Mr. Hernandez, how's it going? Like, oh, you know who I am? Yeah, I know who you are. And it feels great, you know. It's like I don't take that for granted because it's like I tell a lot of these people, it's a great feeling when people start noticing who you are and what you do, it's like be true to yourself. Don't lie. Don't be somebody that you're not gonna be, and then you're gonna have to live the lie, like you used to tell me. And that's beautiful. I love that. And it's like I tell these people, you got to keep pushing forward and don't change for other people's aspect. You be true to yourself and who you are. They like you or they don't, but you're always true and you're honest and straightforward. And I see that around the whole industry. So when I get these young kids, and some of their coaches will call me up like, "Hey, I got this guy. Okay, send me his information. I want to see." Because for me, I go like, I like working with good people, great people. I like to study the fighter, like to talk about them, and like to get to know them. It's not just like, oh, I see dollar signs. No, that's not me. I love the sport. I love these kids, and I take care of them. Like I get angry when they don't get that opportunity when they should, when they have that talent.
Yeah.
So, like I said, so I follow that and I embrace it. And I go like, you know what? What I didn't have back then, for sure, I'll make these kids have what I didn't have. And what is that? Someone to speak in your ear.
Yeah. Just someone to emulate, to look up to, a lot of people don't understand. 'Cause when I've been in this industry, December 12th will be my 41st year. And I never charged for a youth event. Never will charge for a youth event. I'll drive 15 hours just to do Golden Gloves or whatever, because that's our future. We're in this sport. We're making money off this sport, but at the same time, we love it, so we have to give back. The true people of this sport will give back. But what I found is the people that came up with nothing are the ones that really give back. And that really shocked me because you got Bob Arum, you got Oscar De La Hoya, you got all these guys who got millions and millions and millions. But it's the ones that don't have nothing that care the most. And, I'll kind of retract that a little bit because, I'm not a big Canelo fan. I think he was a great fighter. I think he's probably going to go down in the top 10 in his weight class in the history of boxing. Didn't really care too much for him until the other day.
Mhm.
Then I sit there and I read an article and I seen what he's doing in Mexico. And it really touched my heart because he put millions upon millions of dollars into a housing community, not just a neighborhood, but into a housing community for the poor people of Mexico, and is letting them live there rent free, and he's footing the bill. And I thought to myself, now if Canelo can do this, why can't all these other fighters that are making 80, $90 million a fight,
Mhm.
why can't they do it? But then I fell back into the same thought process that I always do because they don't think about the people with less, So it made me appreciate Canelo that much more. But the sad part of reality is the world is crazy anymore. We don't really know what's going to happen going forward. All we can do is just love, trust, and appreciate, and still be there for each other. Um, Another person that you mentioned when we started the show is Jose Castaneda, and he
Yeah, that's
commented
right.
from YouTube. He said, "Hello to the one and only Hall of Famer Don Mcguire." Well, man, thank you. He says, "And my best friend Roberto Hernandez, sending you positive vibes to you both. Appreciate you, sir." What would you like to say to your brother?
Oh man, I love him to death. It's funny because we grew up since we're 5 years old. He's the reason. He's part of the reason why I got into this business of boxing. As kids, we're 5 years old. We're like neighbors. We grew up together pretty much side by side. Our houses were there. And one day we went to his uncle's room, David. We opened the door, and this was like I think 1988. And we looked at the TV. You won't even know the guy that was fighting on there was Roberto Duran. And we both looked at him like, what is this? We started looking at each other. This guy's jumping, popping, punching, destroying the guy like he always does. It's like, oh, who is this guy? And it's fun. So me and my best friend, we just looked at each other. Kids, we have bad ideas. There we both go. So we went into his closet in his drawer, his dresser, and they're like, hey, I got this. So we got a pair of socks, put it on our knuckles, and then we got, you just go outside. So we're crazy as kids. So we go there and we start banging each other, beating each other up. We did that for like 3 weeks until his grandpa one day came out. He came outside. He's like, what's going on here? He's like, we're banging each other. I'm all bleeding nose, blood lip. He is all busted up. And we have like 5 other kids going outside. We're like promoting these fights and stuff, like setting it up. Hey, you fight this guy, you fight this guy, you did. And we're just like 10, 11 years old. He's like, you do that, you do that. It's already in this. So we're beating each other so bad.
Yeah.
His grandpa comes out. He goes like, here, put these gloves on. You guys keep beating each other up. I'm like, what are they? So we looked at them. They're all red gloves, right? They're Everlast. So there we go. We started beating each other up again, and a couple weeks later, more kids started piling up. And his grandpa, he goes like, I got to go outside with these kids because these guys starting to get a crowd now. So we're like promoting fights. Is me and my best friend love him to death. He's a great guy.
Yeah. I introduced you to an individual that I kind of feel the same way about, and he's with the WBC. He's a 5-time Hall of Fame referee, and Stephen Blay, and he lives in Colorado with you. You see, I think life should be like that. I think we need to connect good people with good people. And one good person out of Drayton, Canada is he's blood. His name's Brian Halderson. He says, the one with nothing to lose have the most to give. And it's so true, because I'm poor as hell. Most people don't watching this don't even know. I'm disabled. The only thing I took from the sport is what I needed to pay my bills and feed my family. But the last few years they haven't been great on me. Things got tight. But I tell you what, when my boss gives me a blessing or somebody gives me a blessing, one of the great thing about my wife is we always believe in paying blessings forward. And that's what you kind of did in a roundabout way in this sport. See, you came from a troubled, hurtful childhood. Your parents, your friends, they mentored you right, and you still fell in love. You were still in love with the sweet science, and it never left your heart. Now here you are, giving back to these tremendous young warriors. I remember when you put Wedo on my show.
Yeah, good,
You
good
know,
guy.
good kid, hard as hell to interview. Hey, but you know what? Somebody's got to start them somewhere.
Yeah.
But what does it make it feel for you, Robert, when these youngsters that come up to you and they've got this great passion, this motivation, this drive? How successful do you feel when you get them opportunities like you did Wedo and all the other ones that you do? Because let's face it, a lot of people nowadays will say, I can't make no money off these young kids coming up, so I'm not going to mess with them. But you do. What is it that you take away from it, and what do they take away from you?
Oh man.
Don't
What I
cry at
get.
me now, Chihon.
None of that, right? Yeah, it's a feeling, Don, that I can't express. I can't explain it. But it's like something. You it's like some people play the lottery and then win it, they get all crazy, right? For me, it's like seeing a kid fulfill their dream, and it's like the victory for me. And it
Yeah.
feels great that I could accomplish that for them, because like I said, 10 years ago, I wouldn't even believe where I'm at now. And it's amazing. Why? Because I didn't give up, because people like them, didn't give up on me. Even though if I didn't see it, it wasn't there, but it was always there. I just didn't see it. I was blind. I thought of a certain thing to get there, but I don't know how. But I just never opened my book. There's a book with letters. It says like, this is you, and this is what you're gonna do. You're born for this. So when I started talking to these kids, like, hey, you know what? And it's funny because sometimes they don't believe in you, because they don't know you. And I always tell these kids and their managers or their agents or their trainers, like, this is who I am. This is what I stand for, and this is what I do. And I say it like it is. There's no wrong or right what I'm going to talk about or anything, but I am straightforward, and I'm here to help. I do my best what I can. I go as far as you go, and you go as far as I go. So when they succeed in something like that, and I go like, wow, this is amazing. It makes you feel so great. It brings me back to like my childhood growing up. It's like you rip something that was dead inside of me, that I kept inside for so long. and you finally start feeling great about it. That's what they take away from me, is that darkness, that bad stuff I had growing up as a kid that I never had, and that's the joy of life. They make me happy about what they do. It makes me happy, and they don't understand that, because that's who I am. I keep telling these people, this is who I am. Um, I'm what you see is what you get.
Real. Like I told you when we first met, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember the lie.
Yep.
And that's the only way you're going to succeed in this industry. A lot of people, they don't understand that. It's like most people that do what I do, they last 3, 4 years max. You know, my pendejo, I'm still here 40 years later. But see, because we're on a multitude of platforms, I could see everybody. So, I want to give a big shout out to Scott Sir Parker, a brother of mine, Juan Martinez,
Mhm.
and also the one and only Mr. Jerome Coffee. It's coffee time, baby.
Coffee
You
time.
know, I need to have him and Scotty the Bulldog Olson back on the show because I'm trying to transition my show more to boxing anymore because after the National Boxing Hall of Fame, the MMA world kind of took a dump on me, bro. I'm honest, so I'm going to say what I got to say, but I'm not going to make the whole show about it. Me and you had many conversations, and so did my adopted grandfather. We'll get to him in a second, but without you guys, would have never had a full understanding. It's crazy what envy creates. It's crazy because I came into the sport not wanting anything except for to give, just like
Mhm.
you. So you seen what I've had to go through, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
still worth it. It's still worth it. You know, I I had an opportunity. You gave me an opportunity with David Estrada, tremendous man. But what I see in you is a man that is just getting started, a man that hasn't been able to fulfill his full dream and his passion. Where does Robert Hernandez Jr. pick up in the state of Colorado and fulfill your dream?
Oh, to make good fights, big fights. I've been trying to make something happen here since I moved here. I had a vision. I had a vision, like, to bring something great here, because you really don't hear about Colorado a lot, about nothing really. It's not about the pros. It's more about the little amateurs. And the pro fight game in here is not so big, and it's sad when you get a couple phone calls and say like, hey, well, Colorado is like, it's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's like you're trying to, like, you know what, give it a couple more years. I'll do my best what I can here to work what who needs to have work, like promoter stuff like that. Hey, I'm here, I'm here. I want to make things happen. I want to flip this state around and make it respectful. It's like,
Mm.
hey, it's time for big fights here. No more pigeons or anything of that. It's time to bring up the right people. Right cards and get strong. Make a stance for the state of Colorado, and that's my vision. And I'm not gonna stop.
Let me ask you a question. When you're in the gym and you see these young men and women and they're sparring and working out, in a weird kind of way, are you living vicariously through them? Does it make you feel special seeing that part of your life?
Yeah, you know what's funny? So this is in Salinas, California. Back about 9 years ago, when I went out there, there was this kid. For me, Don, I like to see these fighters. When they're like, they're there, they're standing, and it's not that I'm looking how they're hitting at the glove, like the bags and heavies with speed bags, right? No,
Yeah,
I look at their footwork, because the footwork says a lot about a fighter, what they could do, what they
yeah.
could accomplish. Because the footwork is hard to train. You see, when you see something that these kids can move around at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you're like, wow, this kid's gonna have a career, because you can tell, because footwork is not just like Roberto Duran. Remember his feet work,
Yeah.
beautiful, sweet science. And so you got to pay attention to this. Like for me, I paid attention to that all the time. I'm like, man, I love that. It's not that I'm staring at them completely. No, I'm looking at their footwork and like how they look, how they do, how they hit, how they move around. Every hook comes around, how their footwork turns this way, hits that jab, the uppercut, the overhand right, the cross, everything. I was like, man, it's just a beautiful science. And there was this one little kid I remember out in the Rock boxing gym out in Salinas, California. And I told the coach there, Danny, and my friend Jose Salaya was there too. I'm like, hey, Jose, who's that little boy right there? He's like, he's pretty good. I told him, what about him? Oh, he gets hit too much. He's getting hit a lot. He's getting tagged. Like, no, don't think about that part. I'm like, look at that footwork, man. That is beautiful. That kid's gonna have something. You're gonna see a couple years from now. And I just heard like a year ago or something that kid was in the nationals. Amazing. I was like, that's the kid I thought about years ago. Look at him now. You see, it's like you
Yeah.
got to look at the talent. I love watching talent. And I'm not going to tell someone, oh, like I see it. No, I just love, and something about my eyes has always been that way. I could see talent. I love the talent. I see it.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, man, you kind of explained my latest transition, because I started in boxing
Mhm.
and went to Pride, well, Tough Man, No Holds Barred, Pride, Glory, the UFC, all that. But then I worked all these years and I was saddened because I was like, I'm not going to be able to go out the way I came in. And I remember me and you talking about this,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I get the induction into the National Boxing Hall of Fame, and I was asking you, I was like, man, how in the hell did I get here? I don't even I don't even know how I got here, bro. And but you talked me into going because you're just that kind of soul. And generally, I don't, this was my eighth Hall of Fame induction. I don't go to these things, I
Mhm.
just, but you talked me into it. My grandfather, my adopted grandfather, and a couple other people talked me into it. And I want to thank you, man, because I had one of the greatest freaking times I've ever had in all my career. Not only because Mickey Ward grabbed my butt, but
Yeah.
but it was nice, bro, because for one moment, because I'm a photographer, and they always
Mhm.
say, "Oh, you're the low man on the totem pole," but not for that day.
Mm-mm.
That one day I'm sitting with Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr., Winky Wright, Marco Antonio Barrera, and all the rest of the class. For one day out of 40 years, I got to feel equal with Evander and everybody else. It was a beautiful moment. And then the WBC acknowledged me, and it turned out to be one of the greatest weekends of my life. So you're not only inspiring the youth, bro, you're inspiring us old people too. And that's what I think I love about you the most. And, it's like Carlette says, Robert is genuine. And Carlette, I agree with that a million times over and over and over again. I don't really like to talk to people on the phone because in my industry, you don't know what friend they want to be. You don't know if they want tickets or what, but you've never been that way, bro. You've never asked me for anything. You've always just been real. So, Carlette, you're 100% spot on. My adopted grandfather says, "Hi, everyone. We are on tonight, the Warrior Show." And the cool story about him is kind of like me and you, man. It's like
Mhm.
you lose stuff in life, and it still hurts you. And I prayed and prayed and prayed to God to give me an opportunity to have someone like my grandfather in my life. And it was through Randy Kamish Gordon, who does a show on Sirius Satellite with Jerry Cooney. And I was watching the show, and I got to meet a great group of people. And out of one of them was my adopted grandfather. And my wife don't even trip off it because it's her grandfather that raised me. But things in life are meant to happen for a reason.
Yeah.
That's how you're in my life. But see, now the sport has somebody to continue that sees the greatness in these kids. What was it? Well, I guess the best way to ask this, let's say you're on bended knee and you put that stone down to widen your path. What did Robert Hernandez not only learn from that, but what were you able to give back from the sport from that moment?
And it was a lot. Like I said, it was so tough growing up for all what I've been through and what I have given, and that accomplishment of all the fighters, that came around and I started talking to, and they made me feel alive. It's like the heavy stone that I had inside of me. It's it starts to break less and less and less, and it's less because, like, for me, it was hard for me to keep pushing forward because I couldn't I couldn't express myself a lot, because I had so much inside of me that I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out, what they did for, like, so when I bent the knee and I felt great, it's like, what, I asked God, take me where you're going to take me to. It's not me in this road. You're going to push me a certain way and I'll follow. You open the street for me and I'll follow. I'm not going to argue with you or say I can't do this, I can't do that. No, I'm going to say, if you tell me this is my path, this is what I'm going to follow to the end. This is what I'm chosen for, this is what I'll do. No change, no nothing. It's like, so, man, it's like I said, the rock inside of me, it's like it started growing more and more, and then it got to the point that I was going to explode because I didn't know what was going to happen, what was going to become of me. And then when I bent my knee, it's like, wow, it's like a whole lift of, like, weight off from my shoulder down just
Yeah.
left. It's like, you know what? This is your path. You're going to follow. Bend your knee as many times as you like, but your path is not going to go the wrong way anymore. You're going to go straight. You keep it
Amen.
the way I show you. That's your path. Ain't nothing going to stop you but you. See, ain't nobody going to tell you you can't do it, you can't do this, you can't do that, but you. I'm with you in your corner all the way to the end.
That's dope, bro. That's why I love you, man. I mean, see, you can't fake real.
Mhm.
You can't. I mean, I've done radio for 24 years. Trust me, bro. I've had some people on here that, like we talk about the three-phase people, what they tell me, what
Yeah.
they tell you, and what they tell everybody else, And what they don't realize, I came up with the mob in this industry 40 years ago, so
Uh-huh.
I ain't gonna buy that crap. But let me get to a couple more of these comments because,
Gotcha.
gosh, man, you got some great friends, bro. Uh, Jose Castaneda says, we need more Dons and Roberts who give all their heart to boxing for the next generations to come. Brother Robert, hope to see you soon back home in Salinas, California. You going back to California, bro?
Oh, they all want me to. My friend Jose Salaya, he fought Julio Cesar Chavez back in the day too. He was a champion too, Jose Salaya. I talked to him all. He's a great guy. And then from him, I actually met Robert De Ghost Guerrero. We went to his house. He had this small little teeny pond. He had one little fish. I looked at Guerrero. Hey, Guerrero, what you trying to find Nemo or something? He's like, no, no, bro, we just trying to build this up, man. He's there. I just started laughing. He's such a great warrior, that Robert Guerrero. He's awesome. He is amazing. Great friend I met out there because of Jose Salaya.
Yeah, I hear rent's cheap again in California, bro.
I know. It's funny because my best friend wants me to go out there. Like I said, Jose Salaya wants me to go out there. A couple people tell him, like, "Hey, man, you could make things happen." I told my best friend, you know what? I can make things happen here in Colorado. Just give me time. You'll see. I'll make things happen. When I give my word and I have the guy upstairs watching me what I'm doing, hey, I could only stop myself.
Amen. Hey, you said it all right there. The only one that can make you stop is you. The only one
Yep.
that can fail is you. Everybody else wants to blame everybody for their
Mhm.
mishaps. Grow a pair and take responsibility. I think that's a problem with a lot of the sport. You know, I'm a little dismayed after this fights this weekend.
Mhm.
I don't see how. I mean, this whole thing with Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, everybody thinks it's great. but it's really not. I mean, they're taking away multiple promotions from the United States. Yeah, we're still going to have fights here once in a while, but they're mostly going to be over there. It pretty much has killed boxing. So what we're stuck with is Jake Paul.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, and I kind of got schooled a little bit because I'm honest. I'll tell the story. It's like they said, well, it's not your generation anymore. I said, well, it hasn't been my generation for a long time. I came up in the golden era of boxing,
Yeah.
but they made a relevant point. They said that we would rather have Jake Paul than not have any fights at all.
Yeah, it's true.
But where I agree with that, but I don't agree with them wanting to give him a title shot. For some reason, that just don't sit right with me. I mean, I could deal with a lot of the theatrics and whatever you want to call it, because I know as trainers, BJ Flores and Jacob Chavez. BJ Flores never became anything, neither did Jacob Chavez. So, I mean, I shot their fight camps, I shot their fights, and those are the people that are training Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul can probably beat both of them right now, but I don't consider him a professional boxer. Now, you're an agent, matchmaker, trainer. Give me your honest thoughts on Jake Paul. I mean, because us old guys in the industry, we think he's paying all these fighters to take a dive, whether he is or isn't. It's entertainment. It's putting asses in the seat, and it's keeping eyes on boxing. But where are your thoughts on him getting a title shot?
Yeah. Okay. What he's doing is great. I love what he's doing because he's showing a vision, another vision. It's like, hey, look, we could make things happen. It doesn't matter if he's fighting these MMA fighters and all that, but he's showing something to people. A vision. What his vision is. It's like to keep the sport going. They might not like who he's fighting and all that, but he's doing something. He's trying to make something happen. Well, like you said, everything's going overseas is because the vision is, I don't know what the vision is, but the industry is like Paul is trying to do what he can to keep it around here. So he's making money, he's doing this, he's helping out the whole industry. People might poop on him, just because what he's doing is like, hey, you can't hate a man that's trying to do something with his own vision that he's trying to make. You can't hate on him. He's doing something for our entertainment. He's doing so. He's making money, and he's helping them other people out to make money too, and put food on their table too. So he has his vision is to to fight, put on a good show. If nothing else is going on, like, hey, you know what? I'll put my vision out there and go as far as I can go. See where it dies. Where it's gonna go. And like for the title shots, I do understand. I don't think because I think he should fight like at least the top 20, top 15, top 16, top 17, top 18, 19, 20, 10, and all the way down. You have to go for the ladder all the way down to be champion, for a title fight, like all the other professional fighters do. You got to follow. You see, I don't agree going straight to a title shot unless it's a made up title, But if it's an actual title fight, as I said, you got to go the steps. You got to follow what the WBC, the IBF, the WBO, the WBA, you got to follow all them sanctioning bodies. You got to go through it all in order to be a champion. But like I said, we can't hate on the guy for his vision, what he's trying to do, But
he's the last hope we got. That sounds pretty terrible coming from me saying Jake Paul's the last hope we got. But hopefully Oscar doesn't sell out. I don't know. It's going to be intriguing to see, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll finish off the second half of the interview.
Saturday, August 10th, the Trigon travels to Atonement, South Florida, and lands once again inside the Charles F. Dodge Center for BYB 29. Brawl in the Pines 3. BYB Light Heavyweight Champion, Cub the Savage Hawkins, looks to defend his title against the Legacy of God, Gregory Cisneros. Super middleweight title contenders Robert Cerna and Ryan Jet collide, plus Miami's own Robert Durant Jr. and Yuli Diaz look to bring their hometown crowd to its feet. Catch these great fights and much more. Visit BYBExtreme.com for tickets and information.
Now, let me ask you a question before I get to some of these comments.
Okay.
Now, we talk about boxing leaving. We talk about MMA is not what it used to be. But then now I've transitioned, as you know, and a lot of people are saying bare knuckle is going to be the next aspect to rise up and be in the top contention in sports. What are your thoughts, your perceptions, and your take on bare knuckle, brother?
Yeah, it's like I don't know much about it. Like we're talking about it a couple weeks ago. I'm still learning of it, but I see the vision that they're trying to put out there. The vision is good, very good. I like the vision what they're trying to create, and it all depends if you could put it together without falling from that. You got to keep the vision, you got to keep it going, and if you have the right people around it, the right crew to run a huge company of the bare knuckles, because like, is there like a few of them, right? I know I was looking it up. There's a couple of them, but the thing is, you cannot fall away from the vision. The vision has a lot to do with it, meaning fights, meaning places, meaning how to set it up, how to bring the people, how to sell it. It's like you got to do all of them phases, all phases together, and it could succeed. Anything is possible.
Well, see, one thing, I mean, if most people caught it in that clip, they would have saw Roberto Duran Jr.
Hmm.
fights for a promotion. And that's one thing, one reason why I went with this promotion is because they're doing exactly what you said. You know, I don't know if you've seen the show when I had the CEO and the owner of BYB on. They talked about the merger. They bought BKB, BKBTM. They bought almost every bare knuckle organization overseas, and now we're the largest bare knuckle corporation in the world with the largest roster. But Mike said, "I'm building a glass house. I'm not building something shiny to make a profit. I want this to be here 50 to 60 years from now."
Hmm.
So my family, the fighters, and the people could still enjoy it. Now that's a promoter that I respect. He's spending money hand over fist, but he wants to build it the right way.
Hmm.
And you always see these guys come in, fly by night companies, and they screw everybody over and rip all the fighters off. And it breaks my heart, because they're gone, but these people don't realize that as a fighter, you have to pay for all your medicals, all your everything. Basically, fight camp is let's see how broke we can be, and hopefully we can make 25% of our money back. And people don't really want to look at the sport like that. They want to look at the sport as, oh, I love it. Yeah, these people are paying 80 to $100 for a pay-per-view,
Hmm.
and some of these fighters are only walking away with $10,000, $12,000. They don't even pay for their camp, but yet they love this sport so much that they stay here time and time again. What is it in the heart of Robert Hernandez when a young fighter comes up to you and says, "Hey, boss, I'm broke. I can't do this anymore, but I still love it." What kind of words of wisdom and knowledge do you break on him? Because I've watched world champions walk away from the sport because they couldn't afford it anymore. And you're really the man that creates these fights. You're the man that builds these fighters and gets them to the top caliber shows, and you do it because you love it. But how hard is it when a young warrior that just loves the sport comes to you and says, "I want to be here, but I just can't afford it anymore."
Yeah, it's tough. It's the reality. It's sad. It's heartbreaking because when they comes to a point in their life, when they're almost done with the sport, their career is almost over. They're starting to lose more fights, and all the love you had of honestly, what I'm saying, speaking honest,
Yeah,
that when they start losing, it's like the show leaves. It starts to leave
yeah,
from you. It's like, and it's sad, and you keep trying. And like I tell these guys, you know what? I'm gonna do the best I can to help you out. I'm gonna send you to this person, this person, this person. We want to keep trying to get you something.
Yeah.
How I always tell them, there's one thing you got to be careful about is like sometimes when you're desperate, you need money, you could be going into the wrong fight.
Yeah.
That's the bad part. That like for me as a matchmaker, I don't want to be the cause of one of them that I put somebody in there that needed money and he ends up getting killed because boxing is brutal too. You got to be careful with that. And I don't want that in my life. It's like, what, I got this kid, but I put him with somebody, matched him out the wrong way, and then something happens and he ends up dying in the ring. And it's like, no, I don't want to live with that. So it's hard to find the right people that could help him. I try my best, like, hey, you know what? Go here, let's try this. Cause I still believe in you. You could be almost
Yeah.
crippled and I'll still believe in you. I'm there for you. I'll do my best what I can. Because I know how it is not to have that person to try to help you out. It's like you're crying inside, but you don't want to see everything. You just like, but like I said, I hear you. You don't have to cry to me. I see just by looking at you, I know what you need and what help you need. Because some of these fighters, they have a lot of pride. They don't want
Yeah.
to know it. They don't want to tell you straightforward. Like, you know what? I'm suffering. You know what? Get me a fight. When I start hearing when they're like, hey, get me a fight. I'll do anything. I'll fight anybody. I was like, that's when it starts to break my heart. It's like, man, poor kid, he's going through adversity, he needs to pay this, and that's gonna be a problem because he's gonna find something on something else, and what's gonna happen? It's gonna end up either getting killed in the ring or getting really beat up so bad that his career is finished. And like
And
he
that's
want that.
it's sad, bro. It really is. Um, Jose Casson says, "Oh, I already read that one, but then there's one below it. Man, you got a lot of friends, bro." Um, he said, "Don, you are definitely on top with the best of boxing. Keep up marching forward and keep your head up. May God continue to bless you and your family." Man, thank you, brother. You know, um, hey, Robert, you need to hook us up so we can talk, man. That'd be pretty dope, man.
Yeah, yeah,
I
he's
like
yeah.
your friends, man. Estrada and everybody that you introduced me to are they're just top notch, man. They really are. And
Thank you.
you know, it's because of who you are, and see, everybody wants to think it's the promoter and the matchmaker, and most of those guys don't give two shits about the fighters. They don't. They just want to fill their pocket. It's the people that do the work behind in the darkness that are the ones that truly care. And brother, I've watched you. I've known you for a little while now, and like I told you, I just don't have anybody on my show. I had you on my show because, man, in a long time, I haven't met somebody that cares about these fighters like you do. It's it's amazing how much, because I know how hard you work in your regular job and how much you give in this, and most people would have gave up a long time ago. You got a tremendous family, you got a tremendous wife, you got great people because if your family and your wife ain't down with it, then you're not going anywhere, bro.
No.
I mean, I've been gone for weeks at a time. When I first got into this, I was gone 40 weeks a year, and my wife didn't leave me. So that's how I ended up getting all these acknowledgments, which at the end of the day, I would do it all over again. Every part of it, every part of my career, good, bad, it molds us, it defines us. What would you say would be the most defining moment on the walk of Robert Hernandez?
Oh man.
I didn't say you get 10 minutes to think, bro.
Defining moment, when I man, when I talked to Pepe Sanchez, the father of Jose Luis Sanchez, Guero Sanchez. And it's funny because I was working him for about a year and I've been trying to match his brother, Jason Sanchez. That's a hell of a fighter, 126. And it was hard to find the kid a fight. And then one day Rick Glazier
Freak, I haven't heard that
texted
name in a long
me.
time.
He texted me. He goes like, you know what? Give me a call, buddy. So I did. I talked to him. Hey, I got this amazing kid, and see what can we do together. He's like, okay. He calls me a couple of days later. He's like, hey, bro, hey, buddy, you know how hard it is to get that kid a fight? I'm like, yeah, trust me. I've been trying for a year to get something, and I've had them fights and stuff like that. I had guys, and they're like, yeah, sure, sure. And then they'll call me back. I call them, hey, what's going on? He's like, no, he's too tough. Like, of course he is. Like I always tell these guys, I am not gonna find you pigeons what you want. I'm gonna fight you good fighters, and what makes it 50-50 fights, and that's how it should be. It's like I want great fights, not one that you're gonna toss in the ring and just get them beat up for no reason. No, not me. I don't roll like that. So, and I and he calls me again. And he's like, hey, so I told Rick Glazier, like, hey, I got this other kid, his brother, Guero Sanchez. What do you think? He's like, let me see. So he checks it. I was like, hey, we got something like. And then I was thinking, like, hey, wait a minute. How about we get the kid a 3-fight deal with Golden Boy? How's that sound? And he's like, you know what? We could do it. We made it happen. He got the 3-fight deal with Oscar De La Hoya. And that was a defining because I got it's funny because my wife flies at me because I go 10 years ago, I would never thought I'd be walking this path, you know. Thank God for everything he's done for me. And it's like it's amazing because I get my check from Golden Boy, you know, little check, you know, it's not huge or anything, but it made me happy, you know, like I did something I never thought I could have, you know? And
Sense
it's
of
right there.
accomplishment.
Yes, I have a little check there. I'm gonna frame it and stuff like everybody. My wife thinks I'm funny and stuff. I'm like, no, it's something I come and make. Any other people might take it like, whatever, you know. But no, for me, it hit me to the heart because I did something for a kid that his dream was to fight for Golden Boy, you know. And I was part of that with Rick Glazier to make it happen, and it excited me a lot because I feel like I was the one fighting in there, you know. It's because I love these fighters, you know, the people I meet, and I get to talk to them. Like
Yeah.
Guero Sanchez, man, that kid has talent. Great kid. You had him on your show. You know what he is.
Yeah.
It's like he's an amazing kid, and his father, an amazing trainer that took care of his kids. Both of Pepe Sanchez is a great dad to both of to Jason Sanchez and Guero Sanchez. And I know deep in my heart that Guero Sanchez is going to do great. And we're just waiting for that third fight. We don't know when, but he's going to do great.
That's why I know we were meant to be homies because even with Victor Morales,
Mhm.
I went all the way when Steve 2 Pound Forbes was making his comeback, former IBF world champion. He was making a comeback, and he called me and said, "Hey, bro, I'm making my comeback," you know. And I said, "Well, who's the co-main?" He said, "Victor Morales Jr." And he'd already been on my radar. I'd been watching the kid, and so I called my brother up, Barry, and he lives in Wisconsin. I said, "Man, let's go." You know, they said they want us out there. They'll pay for everything and this and that. And I said, "Man, I don't care." I said, "Let's just drive it." I said, "Man, I've always wanted to go to Mount Rushmore. I've never drove across the top of the United States before. Let's just, it's a one-time thing." Man, I tell you what, not only was the ride there beautiful, Deadwood, South Dakota is beautiful, but what I saw that night was a tremendous former champion win his fight. But what I also saw was a young up and coming fighter in Victor Morales Jr. Little did I know, he let me sponsor him, through one of my sponsors. And little did I know he would become the prodigy of the year for 2021 with Golden Boy and DAZN when he signed with Golden Boy and DAZN and
Mhm.
got that huge paycheck. And now he's a champion.
Mhm.
And see, people don't see it like you do. You put faith, you instill knowledge in these young kids, and they become world champions. Now, let me ask you a question because I've had to deal with this because, I was the vice president for Jackson Wink Athlete Development. I've built world champions, and the hardest thing for me to do was to let them go. How hard is it for Robert Hernandez to build a fighter, dedicate all that time, and to see them fly away and not come back. How hard is that on you as a man?
Yeah, it's tough. Like when I started about 10 years ago, I was a boxing trainer, right? And I trained this heavyweight kid out from Minnesota. Good guy, you know. I trained him for a couple, and he came to me, and he was telling me that he had over. He's been doing it for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you know, amateurs or something like that. He was telling me that, and then when I got him, I started teaching him, and I was thinking, wait a minute, he was moving differently, moving wrong in certain ways. I was like, wait a minute, you've been doing this for a while. Like, why aren't you
Yeah,
set to be, you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to
yeah,
be set more. You're supposed to be progressing further. So he comes up like, hey, do you want to train me? I'm like, I'm not a trainer, you know? I used to put gloves on as kids and beat up on my friend Jose Castaneda and he'll beat me up. It's like, and I've done a couple sparring with other friends, like Brian Lynn. I'll talk to you later on about him. Oh, good guy. And when I trained this kid, I trained him so good, Don. Like in 6 months, I got him prepared. I switched him up a little bit. And then he ended up leaving to this other state that supposedly they're giving an opportunity and stuff. And I'm like, well, okay. And then he comes back. It's like, well, I'm not going to work with you anymore. You know, that I'm doing this stuff, you know, with the boxing and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, as long as you do what you do, you know, I'm happy, you know? And then that's how it just ended. And then, I just stayed from there, you know. We just didn't talk to each other no more, and I just let it go. It's like I said, in my heart, it's like if I'm not gonna be with you, you know, unless as long as you could succeed, you know. If I won't talk to you anymore, you won't talk to me, that's fine, you know. But just succeed, you know. I don't hate nobody,
yeah.
and I'm glad if you succeed, it's totally to you, you know.
Well, it's kind of like that expression, the old mother bird. You take care of them so they can fly, and
Yeah,
they fly away. If they come back, it was meant to be. If they don't, hey, you did your job. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt me.
yeah,
I've built 28 world champions in 40 years, and it still stings just as bad today as it did when it happened. But that's part of this industry. Nate Wren says, I'm really starting to like Robert Hernandez Jr. Well, bro, there's nothing to dislike about the man. I'm gonna tell a real quick story if you don't mind about Nate Wren,
yeah.
and
Go
then we'll
ahead.
get back to you. I started helping this young man out years and years ago. Incredibly talented. All I did was teach him not to make mistakes. The kid, I can't take credit for his talent because he's just talented,
Mhm.
and he's also a professional boxer and a photographer. But man, he's such a great kid or a great young man, because he listened to me, man. And over the last 6, 7 years, he really listened to me. And at 33 years of age, he's getting ready to go in a second Hall of Fame, and I couldn't be more proud of him. See, but this is a fairy tale ending. It doesn't happen this way all the time. You and I both know that. It's more
Yeah.
heartache and heartbreak than it. But when you get that one that becomes a world champion, that one that follows in your footsteps and really does it with all their heart, man. To see somebody succeed, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever received in this sport. It's the only thing I really care about in this sport is just seeing others do better. And I even told Nate, man, I said, I'm 62 years old. You're 33. You're already in the Hall of Fame twice. I'm an 8-time Hall of Famer. I said, kid, if you don't beat me, then you messed up,
Mhm.
because he's got all the tools and the talent. I'll tell you what, I mean, I've never met a young man that works. If I could have been 33 years old and worked with all the legends and champions that he's working with right now, I would have killed it. But I want to see this kid succeed. And I think that's what your main objective is in life. And that's why I love you, bro, because it's not about you. You've never made it about you. But David Reyes says, hello, Roberto. Good to see you. This is David, Joe C. Uncle. Glad to see you're doing well. You just brought back memories of seeing you kids on my dad's front yard knocking each other around. You want to say anything back to him?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's the uncle, my best friend, that we went into his room and watched Roberto Duran duke it out. And that's his gloves that we got from his grandpa.
Hey, a lot of people on YouTube tonight. And Carlet says, don't forget to mention about your logo T-shirt.
Yeah, we're trying to create a logo together, and we're waiting on it. See if we could get it done, and we want to put it on her boxing gym.
You create a logo. I know one of the best apparel manufacturers in the business. You get that logo done, I'll get you your shirts at probably next to nothing, some of the best prices you can possibly get.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, you gotta thank me, man. That's how family rolls, bro. But I do it for everybody. I mean, but you're family, so I'm gonna make sure I get a better deal for you and Carlette and everybody. Uh, David Reyes says, glad to hear you're doing so well. God bless you.
God bless
And then Carlette says, clarification, Robert equals T-shirt.
you.
And my brother from another mother, Mr. Gordy Simpson,
Mhm.
his godfather was Gordie Howe, the great hockey player. And he says, great attitude, simmer salute. See, now everybody gets to see why I talk about Robert Hernandez Jr. You know, we could sit here for 2 hours. I mean, an hour and 10 minutes is already blown by, bro. And it's like, I don't even feel like we even touched in this interview. But to let all your friends know, I'm only 2 weeks out from cervical spine surgery. I've got stitches in my throat still. I think it's over here. Yeah,
Yep.
it's where they went on my neck. But you know what? If you lay down, you stay down.
Mhm.
And especially at my age, they'll just euthanize you. You know, I'm just an old dog, bro. But you know what? But see, the reason I do this because I want these young kids that say, "Oh, I'm sick." No, like my grandfather did me. He yanked me out of bed, made me dig ditches that day for
Mhm.
17 hours straight. And people need to realize the world doesn't stop for us.
Mhm.
You know, and you create responsibility, you take care of responsibility. And I tell you, in this industry, you gotta love to learn to be poor. I mean, you really do. I mean, if you really love this sport, you don't take nothing from it. You know, you truly give back. And Robert, you've done that ever since you've been in the sport. I've done that my whole career. Why is it people like us make a difference when you got all these promoters out there stiffing everybody and this and that? I don't get it, but it's an honor and privilege to see somebody like you taking care of these kids, mentoring these kids, and making a difference in their life. You could just simply come home from work and take care of your own family,
Yeah.
but yet you go that extra yard. It's just a testament to the man that you truly are. Uh, okay, we're gonna get into it now. Carlos says, "Wait a minute. Jake hadn't fought nobody to speak about having the opportunity to fight for a title." Hey, I'm not gonna argue with you. I
Yep.
agree with
Same
you.
here.
I completely agree with you. But this is the generation that got dropped on their heads. I don't know how to put it. The world's flipped up. I don't even get it. Uh, Nate, I'm gonna read this, but it better not be disrespectful. I'm just giving him a bad time. He says, "I do not think highly of Jake Paul at all as a fighter. As a businessman, though he's pretty great. Definitely puts on a great show and giving people the undercards a big opportunity." You
Mhm.
know, I agree with
Vision.
that. Well, because Nate was just at the fight. He shot Junior's fight. He was there with Junior in his corner. I can't hate the man.
Mm-mm.
I mean, he's making money and he's giving other people opportunities. I can't say that I agree with the theology and the ideology with all the promotion, but
Mhm.
we got to keep boxing, man. I
Yep.
mean, how they already done sold our country to everybody else. They're not taking my boxing, bro.
No, no.
And then Carlos says he definitely wants female fighters to make more dollars in boxing and MMA.
Mhm.
And then my brother Gordy says, good point. And then for some reason, John, your comments aren't coming through. So if you want to jump on the Fighter's Voice or on YouTube, they might come through. Nate Wren says fight camp can get really expensive.
Mhm.
It does. And Carlette says to compete is beautiful in boxing, but the business side is ruthless.
Mhm.
You know, my wife became my manager because she got tired of me getting ripped off. My wife was my manager for 15 years, and I never got ripped off again. So hey, it's always good. It's always good. But you know, Robert, I hear the passion and the love that you have, and you're a tremendous brother. I don't care what anybody says about you. I know you personally, so it's like to see what you're doing, and it's to be commended. I uh, I would have never picked up out of California and moved to Denver, but really, I really can't say that. I left
No.
California. Well, I came out to Missouri to visit. I didn't do it with the intent to live here. But
Mhm.
when I got here, it was a hub for me because Dallas is 10.5 hours, or Houston is 10.5 hours, Chicago is 6 hours, Kansas City's 4 hours, St. Louis is 3 hours. Whereas when I was in California, I was having to take planes all the way across. So it was like looking for Barney Fife here, but it was also a great place for me because I'm stingy, bro. I would
Yeah.
take the money that they gave me for my airline and I'd drive and keep the extra cash. Well, because you don't get paid that much.
Yeah. Oh.
But, Nate says the trainers, coaches, sparring partners, the fight camp coordinator, the meal prep, and the various other. Yeah, and see,
Mhm.
California just went to where I think it's $1,100, $1,200 now just for a CT. And I don't see how these kids can afford it. You know, I work with the Sugar Shane Mosley Foundation, but what I'd like to do is create my own foundation and have people, we'll do different things and put all the money in a pot for these kids that want to compete but don't have the money for the medicals,
Mhm.
don't have the money for gloves, or I just want to give them a start. I just want to give them an opportunity so that they can make their way to somebody like you. And I think USA Boxing, POW, and a lot of them have gone the way of taking money from these kids, and they aren't like they used to be. And I hate saying that because I used to love USA Boxing, the Golden Gloves, and all of that, but money's the root of all evil. And I see these kids that they give everything they got, and I remember we used to drive around in the cities and we'd pick up kids off the street and put them in the gym and not only mentor them but feed them and have tutors from the universities, help them. What is it that you would like to see change in this sport, Robert? Because I know you're a compassionate man, you're a father, you're very giving. What would you say would be the biggest, what would be the one thing that you would want to change the most in this sport that would help these children, help these young adults move further in their career?
Matches. Those like matches. Like the thing you hear is the A side, the B and C's, right? And in reality, I really don't like all that stuff lately. Like the A's and B's. To me, that doesn't matter. What matters is who you have fought and what you have done, and you're supposed to be matched accordingly to who you are. The thing I see a lot is like you get these mismatches, and that's one thing I don't like. The
Yeah.
mismatches, horrible. So there's a lot of that going around. So for me, I would like to match them accordingly, tough versus tough, beginner versus beginner, and something that not gonna go like you're gonna go in there just throw two punches, the kid's already asleep. Eh,
Yeah.
that shouldn't happen. You should. That's the thing I'll change is to get matched up accordingly to get them better. Because sometimes you have kids that are like 8-0, 9-0, 10-0. It's like, who have you fought? You know.
Yeah.
Then you start thinking you're going to be champion of the world and you're going to be someone big, and it doesn't work that way. Because when you walk into the arena, you go into the ring, you're going against a guy that's like 12-4 or 12-5, but that guy has fought some quality fighters since the get go. Then you got this guy that's going in there at 13-0, 12-0, thinking he's the superstar, right? The next coming of Canelo Alvarez. And then when he walks in that ring, it's like, yeah, yeah, my hands are high. And then all of a sudden, lights are over within a minute, 20 seconds of the first round because he was not ready. He wasn't brought up the right way. You get it? He's just like fighting against the wrong guy. This is why I like change a little bit, set them with the right fights. It's like make them quality fights. It's like Rick Glazier told me one time I was talking to him like he loves the big quality fights, and I love that for Rick Glazier. He's not about the mismatches and all of that. He wants the great quality fights. But in boxing, you're not gonna always gonna get that. And that's the business. You're gonna get one guy that's better than the other guy. And you're making this guy think like I said, the next Canelo Alvarez, he's already 13-0, raising his hands up, thinking he's champion of the world. Nothing to take away from them poor kids, because they've been taught that. They've been I don't know if they've been lied to anything and stuff like that. Who knows? But for me, I like to be honest. I'm like, you know what? You can't fight certain people no more in this kind of way. You're better. You got to go accordingly to what you're going to fight. You got to dig deep in waters. If you want to be great, you got to fight great. But if you're fighting guys, you want to fight guys like the easy victories and stuff like that. That's horrible. But it's just business. It's horrible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that part I'll like to change. Match them accordingly. Match them to who they're gonna fight. Match them to make it a great card, an awesome card. That you don't know who's gonna win because you're even if their manager or the other agent from the fighter's all nervous biting their nails off. Hey, this is a fight. This is beautiful. This is what we want. We don't want to go there and eat our popcorn versus a guy that's gonna go and Joe doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? Poor kid
Yeah.
walks in there raising his hands just to get a paycheck, and then other guy already knows that he's gonna go eat him alive. And it's pretty sad, but that's just what it is. So that's the thing I will change is to make the good fights. The fights that are 50-50 that's going to get you to become champion of the world. Because you need to dig deep. If you want to be champion, you got to fight the tough fights, to get there. You're not going to become champion going 9-0 and just fighting tomato cans. You got to get up there on the rankings the right way. And like I said, Don, you don't see that anymore. You're bringing up these kids and they look great on paper, but when you match them up, well, like I say, like a 12-0, 14-0, and they're tough. It's like Guido Sanchez. He has 4 losses, right? And he has his wins, but the kid is tough, very, very tough. Don't overlook him because he could drop you too. you know, he's
Yeah.
great. He's match accordingly. If you look at his box rate, yeah, he don't fight tomato cans. The kid fights great fighters, and he's good at it. You know, that's the
Well,
only
see the
thing I'll
problem.
change.
Yeah. See, so that's a problem. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a problem that I think is resonating more and more and more. These young boxers in Southern California just jump over into TJ and they get a couple cans and then they want to come back and demand a title shot. Well, bro, you're gonna get that title shot if your record looks like that, but you got to remember that you built your career on a padded record. So when you get in there for that title shot and you get your ass whooped, pardon my French, and you get sat down, you're gonna go, man. I didn't build my career right. See, a lot of people get mad at me because I'm not a firm believer in records. I think records should be because Helen Peralta, one of the greatest female fighters in bare knuckle, beat Christine Ferreira, supposedly the GOAT of bare knuckle, and just beat Monica Medina in our last venue. She said I was great on that day.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean I can beat her today, but I was great on that day. And see, that's what I like. I like when fighters realize that they don't have an ego and they're willing to be honest and say, I can't, I may not be able to beat her today, but I beat her that day. And to see her go out against Monica Medina and within like, I think 16 seconds, 20 seconds, just destroy her, it kind of rebuilt that confidence in Helen Peralta because the sport was tearing her down. And I said, well, why are they tearing you down? She said, well, when I beat the greatest bare knuckle fighter in the history of bare knuckle, nobody wanted to fight me anymore.
Hmm.
And I felt her pain, bro, because here you got a tremendously talented athlete that I've known for 16 years, beats one of the best female bare knuckle fighters in the world, and she says it was the worst day of her career. Now, how does that make sense? I mean, it really doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean,
Hmm.
it cost her more money than she made from that fight because she couldn't get fights.
Hmm.
And it's sad. So that's why I loved having you on here tonight because it's people like you that are keeping the sport straight, keeping it clean, and building it the right way. That's why I love Mike Vasquez with BYB. He said, if my fights aren't like this, then I don't want them. We don't want one-legged fights. We're like you. We want the competition to be equal, or we ain't gonna put it on. I don't know where your thoughts are like I said, I asked you earlier, but bare knuckle is kind of growing on me, especially after that Tenori Irwin fight in Denver. That was some crazy crap, bro. And Stephen Blay is watching right now, the referee from the
Uh-huh.
WBC that officiated that fight. He even became a fan that night, bro. And he's a man that's been in boxing for 56 years, and he became a fan. We're gonna kind of wrap things up because I didn't realize we were on here for an hour and a half already. My brother Gordy Simpson from Canada says, "Behind closed doors, a lot goes on, a lot of crap." I like where you're at right now, D Dog. Just like we have talked about multiple times. I'm in a good place, and the reason he called me D Dog is because world champions have given me monikers. That happens to be the moniker from Scotty the Bulldog Olson.
Hmm.
James Tony calls me Dandy Don, which I don't really particularly care for, but what are you gonna do? Tell James Tony no? You can't call me that. I don't think so. And he says a lot of responsibilities when matchmaking. I hear you. There truly is.
Hmm.
See, one thing I will say about Robert, he does it because he wants the best for everybody. He's not your standard everyday matchmaker. He's like I said, I know matchmakers, they could care less if they put a guy that's 1-0 against a guy that's 25-0. They don't care. As long as they get their money, they don't care. But see, I think matchmaking is one of the most important parts of a promotion. You can kill the promotion or you can make the promotion. But more importantly, when you got a matchmaker like you, it makes a difference between life and death. Or somebody being permanently maimed in the future. And I'm honored to call you my brother because I know you look long and hard before you put a fighter into a fight. You're not just going to throw somebody up there to get, your little 10, 15, 20%. You care more about the fighter than you do your own pocket. You treat the fighters like you do your own kids. And that speaks volumes of you, brother. And all these people coming on here tonight in defense of you, talking about you, it establishes that much more. You know, like I said, I still don't understand why you moved to Colorado when you
Oh,
were already in the hotbed. I'm gonna keep rubbing
there's,
that into the day
there's
I
a
die.
story.
But
I can
I
tell you
know
real quick.
my brother John J. Lance says it takes the community to raise the kids today. We share our experiences, strengths, and hopes to elevate others. The rewards far outweigh what we give away. That's my brother John. John, I love you, bro. But what would you like to say to his thought process?
Yeah, I love it. Give back to the kids, the community. Do what you can. Help out. It's very good. I love that what he said.
Yeah, and he took very good care of me at the Hall of Fame. And Nate, you talk too you talk too much, Nate. But Carla says on it for the logo. Hey, you guys, seriously, you guys get that to me?
Yep.
I'll get you guys hooked up. Nate says Carlette Owl is a legend. Don't be stalking her, Nate. I'm gonna have to hunt you down, bro. I got your phone number. Uh, she says sending you prayers for a successful. Carlette, I actually just had my surgery. Are you having surgery?
No.
Yeah, I actually just had my surgery 2 weeks ago. I'm still supposed to be in the hospital. Um, but I'm kind of stubborn. Robert will tell you this was my 254th surgery, and
Mhm,
if you lay down, you stay down, and I'm not gonna lay down. I'm just not gonna do it. Let me try to run through these real quick, and then
mhm.
he says they have no idea the sacrifices that Don McGuire and Robert Hernandez Jr. have made to get to where they're at today. And then he says Julio Cesar Chavez will beat Jake Paul. Bro, I told you, be good on here.
Yeah.
Carlos says boxing is leaving for Dubai because of the money that's paid that the USA can't seem to do as it is in the past. You know what? I agree with you, and I don't talk politics on my show, but I'm going to be very brief about it. See, the way they were able to come up with that 5.2 to $6 billion was to take away from the petrol dollar, which kind of raises your gas prices, raises mine, and raises everybody else. So when the Saudis take money from the black crude that they're pulling out of the ground and refining and turning it into gasoline, that's going to cost us more at the pump. So they're really screwing us twice if you really want to think about it. So I'm not too hip on boxing going to Dubai. They could have did it a different way, but no, they had to hit us twice. They took boxing from us. Now they want to charge us more for gas. So it's a lose lose for us. It really is. And she said my coach used to do that. Hey, who was her coach? Who was Carlette's coach?
Oh, who was that? She told me that a couple weeks ago. Trying to remember.
You know what? Matter of fact, we need to just get Carlette on the show.
Yeah, she's got one this Friday coming in the UK.
Yeah. And I'm not 100 right now. This is Robert's my brother, so I'm just laid back and chill. I wanted to share him because I mean, let's face it, and I'm not trying to sound rude, but how many radio shows, podcasts, or journalists are beating down the door to interview a matchmaker?
Yeah.
None. But you're the most important person sitting around the ring, the cage, or the mat. You really are. You're the one that decides who goes in there. See, the hardest part of this industry is when people die in the ring. You saw the other day I had Burt Watson on smoking Joe Frazier's manager, and I surprised him with former IBF world champion Paul Vaden, and you seen Burt catch himself. He goes, "I remember the last," and then he kind of stopped because most people don't want to remember the second to the last fight that Paul Vaden had. The fighter never woke up.
No.
That's why Paul walked away from the sport. That's why he does crisis counseling and motivational speaking, because it gets at you, it eats you. People don't understand what these fighters really go through just so we can be entertained. Robert, let's say Colorado's the second chapter, the rebirth of Robert Hernandez. You open up that book to the second chapter, whether it's a word, a sentence, or a paragraph. What does Robert Hernandez put in that book in the second chapter of Robert Hernandez?
I am here to fulfill the vision I had when I got here. As soon as I hit that little sign that said, "Welcome to Colorado."
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know you did a roundabout way. My coach is okay. Hey, amen, Carlette. Match accordingly when possible. All right. Well, I apologize to everybody, but I'm not going to be able to. I'll get to Joel's comment, and then that'll be the last one I'll be able to do for tonight. Because I mean, we literally have been on here for an hour and 40 minutes, bro.
Oh wow, I went pretty quick.
Yeah. He says all fights need to be equally matched, just like a good chess match. Amen. And no one wants to see a one-sided match, which can result in death. Let's keep boxing strong, clean, working on the logo already. Hey, that's what I love. Teamwork makes dream work, and
Yep.
because everybody always says, "How do you get everything done?" You just do it.
Yeah.
Everybody always complains, "I can't." No, you can do it. You just don't want to do it. I mean, I ran the largest gym in the world, ran my radio show, shot fights, and still was a site coordinator for two promotions. So if I could do that, plus be a philanthropist and take care of, organizations to make sure kids get opportunities, and I got one leg, so anybody can do it. I don't want to hear any excuses. If you really love these kids, then let's make a difference. Robert, now that you've been in this industry, this is the last question, bro. Now that you've been in the industry this long and you look back over your shoulder, what has truly defined the man that's sitting in front of me? What truly have you taken away from this journey that you put yourself on?
That I finally did 25% what I thought I couldn't do. Is that to fulfill the role that I thought was not possible, that it couldn't be done, because I had so many say that I couldn't make to what I am now. And they said they don't believe what I said, that someday I'll be in boxing in the industry. And the laughter that I used to hear that I couldn't make it turned into joy. So from that joy, I figured out that, you know what? My journey's still not done. And I'm
It's
still going to
just
push
beginning.
forward. It's just beginning. Like just as you said earlier, this walk is not even 25%. This walk is only 15%. God knows the rest is going to come. And I know I'm not going to fail because I have the heart, the determination, and my Father in heaven that's going to put me to the right direction.
Amen. I love you, bro. You're the shit. You just are. Nate Wren, I said no more comments, but I couldn't help it. He said that was an hour and 40 minutes of pure magic. He said, damn, that was a really great, honest answer. Thank you for brightening my day, Mr. Robert Hernandez. Bro, you deserve all the accolades. You deserve the respect. I truly admit it. I don't just put anybody on my show. And right now I'm sick and I'm hurting and I really didn't want to do a show, but I already flaked on you once and I wasn't going to flake on you twice. But man, you deserve everything that you get and then some, bro. Keep keep living for these kids. Keep living for the sport. Because I'm gonna tell you, man, at 62 years of age, it's kept me alive. These kids, man, they just have a way of making you just feel young, and just being able to help them is it's the godly thing to do, man. And you already know, man, you're great at what you do. I don't need to tell these people that are listening or anybody watching. You're probably one of the best matchmakers that Colorado has. Now we just got to get something happening out there. I'll work with you and we'll figure something out. But brother, I'm gonna hand the mic to you. If you have any friends, family, social media sites, or just anything you'd like to add to the program, the floor is yours. But before I do, I just want to say how truly honored I am that
Thank
you
you.
came on my show. I think we're gonna have to do a part two because we didn't even get half of what you do out in an hour and almost 2 hours. So, but brother, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for watching this show. Don Mcguire, thank you for having me. It's been an honor. And to tell everybody out there, like everything is possible. Don't forget who you are when you get to a point where you want to be in life. Because in reality, in life, it's not what you do in this life, it's what you accomplish and what everybody sees. Believe in your craft. Don't let nobody say other words that you can't do it. Because, like I said, the only one that can stop you is you, no one else. Because this walk is meant for whoever wants it, and also could be taken away if you don't want it. So you just keep going forward, keep pushing what you can, and trust me, you'll never be alone in your walk because God will be with you every step of the way. And just and I'd like to say, like I said, thanks everybody for watching, and I'd like to do a shout out to my friend David, Carlette, Jose Casanera, Benny, David, my wife, Robbie, Hallie, everybody else that I had, all my friends. And most of all, shout out to the three that have lost: my father, my mom, and my my brother. I did it. Thank you.
Oh, well, nah, man, I feel you, bro. I feel you on your brother, and we're gonna be working a lot more together, man. You're a tremendous guy. Your friends are tremendous people, and I like to surround myself with great people. And let's all get together. We'll make this shirt, this logo, or whatever you guys want to do. We'll make this happen, brother. We need to. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. We're going to. So with that being said, man, thank you for honoring and blessing my show, man. I wanted to share it. People don't know that me and you, like I said, we've been friends for a minute, but I wanted to share who you are because you guys don't get the light. You don't get the opportunity, but you guys are the ones that make the fight night happen. Without you, there wouldn't be any fights. And I know you like to work in the dark, but sometimes you need to come out and let the light shine on you because what you give to the sport, brother, we can never thank you enough. We can't. So with that being said, I want to say, God bless you. Thank you. And like Nate Wren says, part two will be 2 hours and 30 minutes, but it will definitely still be a damn good show. Hey, the funny part about it is when I had Scotty the Bulldog Olson on, we actually had to do, I think, a 3 or 4 part because his story was so. But hey, man, I'll tell you your story 7 days a week. Thank you so much for honoring me, brother. You have a good
You're welcome,
night
brother. You too.
and God bless. Appreciate you, man. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Man, I tell you what, I love that dude. I really do. Nate, and you're so spot on. My brother John, Brian, everybody. But if you're new to my show, I'm not in tip top shape right now. I'm about 30 pounds down from what I usually am. Like I said, I just had surgery, but I don't, I don't get paid for the show. I pay for my own show. But all I ask is if you liked it, give it a share, give it a like, That's all I ask. You know, life is too expensive now to do anything else anyway, but I'll continue to give you the show for free as long as you guys are willing to watch it. And thank you, Robert Hernandez Jr., for making my day and allowing some of my friends to see why I believe so much in you. With that being said, I want to thank you all. Have a good night. God bless.